In the previous video, we looked at the absolute value function, the parent, and then what happens when we do a transformation. So we were comparing the parent function to a transformed function when we had the absolute value of x minus 4. In this video, we're going to look at what happens when we have the absolute value of x plus 4. So it's important to know that what's happening inside the absolute value, whether it's a minus or a plus, changes the direction of the shift of the function. So how do I know that this is an absolute value function? It has the absolute value symbols around it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out what goes inside of these spaces here. So when I'm thinking here on the outside, there's nothing here on the outside. So there's nothing being added. So I'm going to say plus nothing. Okay, so that's on the outside. Where it gets tricky is on the inside. So notice that this says plus 4, but this says minus 4. So what would I put in here so that this changed to be plus 4? It would have to be a minus 4. Because a minus times a minus gives you a plus. I'm going to make this a little bit closer so it's easier to see. So a minus times a minus is a plus. So that means this is where we get our vertex, right here. And so we call this h and k. So notice here that my h is negative 4 and my k is 0. So that means that my vertex is negative 4, 0. So notice that this number here is the opposite of what I saw in my original. So when I look up here, this is the opposite. Okay, whatever I see here, when I put it in for the vertex, I'm going to take the opposite value because of what happened here. So let's go ahead and graph this function. Let's see what happened. So when I'm looking here, that was my previous equation. So now I'm going to make it plus. Let's look at what happened here. Notice this shifted to the left. So when I go to my table, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put in my numbers. So you could start at negative 5, 1 and negative 4, 0 and negative 3, 1. Let's go ahead and do that. So negative 5, 1 is right here. Negative 4, 0 is here. And then it goes negative 3, 1, negative 2, 2, negative 1, 3, 0, 4. So we can see that it kind of shifted here. And as I keep going, if I go 1, 5, 2, 6, 3, 7, 4, 8, and so forth, okay? So you can see I only have a partial graph. I need more on this side, which means I could either notice the pattern or I scroll up. So that would be negative 6, 2, negative 7, 3, negative 8, 4, okay, and so on. Okay. So since this is the function that I'm concerned about, I am going to make this solid lines. And you're going to put arrows on the end. The dashed lines were the parent function, which is what I'm comparing everything to. Okay? So this is, I'm going to mark this here, that this here is my parent function. That one is my parent function. And this here is my transformed function. So let's look at the vertex. The vertex is right here. That's my vertex. and that's at -4, 0, which is what I said it would be by looking at the equation. Now we need to find the axis of symmetry. Well, the axis of symmetry is going to go through that vertex. So I'm going to go ahead and draw it in. I'm drawing it in as a dashed line because it's a concept. It's not the function itself. It's just where the symmetry of the function is. So here my axis of symmetry is at x equals -4. So my axis of symmetry is at x equals -4. Okay. So I just want you to notice that my axis of symmetry and the x value of my vertex are the same. This is where x is -4. This is saying x equals -4. So I want you to make a note of that. So this value here at my vertex is the same thing as my axis of symmetry. That happened on the other side. The value of my vertex, which I can't do in that color because it's the same color as my highlighter, this vertex right here is the same as my axis of symmetry. I'm going to rewrite this so we can see. This was 4 and this was 4. Okay? So that gives you that information. The last thing I need to look at is the transformation. So the transformation is what? I went left 4. So the transformation is left 4. So you can see that these functions look almost the same, but this function moved it right 4, and this function moved it left 4. So it's moving it horizontally opposite the direction of the sign. Okay? So you may just want to keep that in mind. In the next video, we're going to look at a vertical translation, and we'll see how that is a little different.